Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life where the people around us, those we trust, those we love, will hurt us. And not just in passing, not in ignorance, but with intentionality. You felt it, haven't you? The sting of words that were meant to cut, the actions that were meant to break you down. There are times when people damage you on purpose. They see your light, and for whatever reason, they want to dim it. They see your strength and they want to weaken it. They hurt you because they think they can. But here's the truth I want you to hold on to. Their intentions do not define your reality. The reality of intentional harm is something that many of us will encounter at some point in life. It's one of those painful truths that we wish weren't so, but it's an undeniable part of human experience. The world is not always kind, and people don't always act with love or consideration. Sometimes they hurt others on purpose, whether out of malice, jealousy, or a desire for power. This is the painful reality we must face, that there are individuals who will intentionally cause us harm. Intentional harm is different from the accidental mistakes or misunderstandings that occur in our everyday lives. When someone harms you intentionally, they do so with full awareness of the damage they are causing. They've made a choice to hurt you, and that decision is often driven by their own emotions, insecurities, or desires. It's not just a careless slip-up or a thoughtless comment. Now, it's a calculated action designed to tear you down, to wound you emotionally, or to rob you of your peace. One of the most difficult aspects of intentional harm is the fact that it often comes from people we trust, people who we believe should have our best interest at heart. It could be a friend who betrays your confidence, a family member who cuts you down with cruel words, or a colleague who deliberately undermines your efforts. These are the people who know us, or at least should know us, and yet they still choose to cause us pain. That makes the harm feel even more personal, even more piercing. It's not just an attack on our physical well-being. It's an assault on our dignity, our identity, and our sense of safety. Intentional harm can take many forms. Sometimes it's verbal, the cutting remark, the harsh criticism, or the malicious gossip. Words can wound deeply, leaving scars that last long after the conversation is over. Other times, the harm is more subtle, a betrayal of trust, the deliberate withholding of support, or the exclusion from a group or opportunity. And in some cases, the harm is outright physical or psychological abuse, meant to dominate, control, or break the spirit of the one being targeted. What makes intentional harm so difficult to bear is the realization that it is often done with a purpose. The person causing the harm may want to bring you down because they see you as a threat, because they're angry, or because they simply want to hurt you as a form of revenge or retaliation. It's not just random cruelty, it's a deliberate action designed to have an effect. This is why the pain feels so much sharper. It's not just an accident, but a choice made by someone who knows exactly what they are doing. When faced with intentional harm, there's a deep sense of violation. It's not just the event itself that causes hurt, but the fact that the person responsible knew what they were doing and did it anyway. It can leave you questioning your own worth, doubting your ability to trust others, and even wondering if you somehow deserve the treatment. And in many cases, the harm is followed by an attempt to justify the action or avoid taking responsibility for it, which only deepens the sense of betrayal. This reality of intentional harm forces us to grapple with some hard truths. It challenges our understanding of the world and forces us to reconsider our relationships with others. It's not easy to accept, but the reality is that some people will hurt us on purpose. The question we must ask ourselves then is how we will respond when we find ourselves in this painful situation. How do we navigate the trauma caused by intentional harm? Our history is a life's bleed. How can we navigate the trauma caused by intentional harm? How do we protect ourselves while maintaining our integrity and our ability to move forward? The answers to these questions may not be easy, but it's crucial that we face this reality head on if we want to grow and heal. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful forces we have at our disposal, yet it is often one of the hardest things to do. When someone harms us intentionally, forgiveness can seem impossible. The wound is deep, the betrayal cuts to the core, and our natural instinct is to hold on to the hurt, to protect ourselves from being hurt again. But the power of forgiveness lies in its ability to free us, not the person who wronged us. It is an act that releases us from the grip of bitterness and pain, allowing us to move forward in peace, even when we don't feel like it's deserved. At its core, forgiveness is not about excusing the wrong that was done to us. It's not about pretending that the hurt didn't happen or minimizing the damage that was caused. Forgiveness is not about denying the reality of the offense. It's about choosing to release the hold it has on us. It is an intentional decision to stop letting the pain define our future and to stop allowing the person who hurt us to have control over our hearts. When we forgive, we choose not to be controlled by anger, revenge, or resentment. We choose to let go of the grip that the offense has on our emotions. One of the most profound truths about forgiveness is that it's not primarily for the person who wronged us. It's for our own healing. Holding on to unforgiveness is like carrying around a heavy weight that drains our energy and spirit. The longer we hold on to the bitterness and anger, the more it affects our mental and physical health. It creates a poison inside of us that prevents us from experiencing peace and joy. The very thing we think is punishing the person who hurt us, our anger and refusal to forgive, is actually hurting us more. We become trapped in a cycle of pain and resentment that can rob us of our ability to move forward. Forgiveness is also about reclaiming our power. When we hold on to unforgiveness, we allow the person who harmed us to continue to have power over us. They occupy our thoughts, dictate our emotions, and keep us anchored to the past. But when we forgive, we take that power back. We choose not to let their actions dictate our future. Forgiveness allows us to break free from the chains of anger, revenge, and victimhood. It gives us the strength to move on and embrace the future with a clean heart. That forgiveness doesn't always come easily. It's a process that can take time. It's not a one-time decision, but a continual choice to let go of the pain and choose peace. The deeper the hurt, the more difficult forgiveness can feel. There may be days when we feel like we can't forgive, when the hurt feels too raw, too deep. But the beauty of forgiveness is that it doesn't require perfection. You don't have to feel like forgiving right away, and you don't have to forget the wrong that was done. Forgiveness begins with a willingness to release the hold that anger and resentment have on you. It's a process, and it's okay if it takes time. Forgiveness is also an act of faith. It requires trusting that God can heal the wounds that have been inflicted on us. It requires believing that justice will be served, whether on this earth or in eternity, and that we don't need to carry the burden of revenge. When we forgive, we release control to God, trusting that He will make things right in His way and in His timing. In that trust, we find the strength to let go of our anger and embrace the peace that comes with forgiveness. At its deepest level, forgiveness is an act of love. It is the same love that God extends to us, despite our flaws, our mistakes, and our intentional harm toward Him. When we forgive, we mirror that divine love, choosing to love those who have wronged us, even when it feels impossible. It's a love that transcends human understanding, one that heals both the giver and the receiver, even if the person who wronged us never acknowledges the pain they caused. When we experience harm, especially when it is intentional, it can shake us to our very core. The words or actions of others have a way of seeping into our hearts, causing us to question our worth, our identity, and our place in the world. It's natural to feel as though the hurt inflicted on us somehow defines who we are. But here's the truth that we need to remind ourselves of. Your value is not defined by their actions. Too often we allow the opinions or mistreatment of others to shape how we see ourselves. If someone insults you, betrays your trust, or rejects you, it can feel as though you've been marked by that experience. We begin to internalize the hurt, believing that if they saw us as less than worthy, maybe we are. If they treated us poorly, maybe we deserve that treatment. This kind of thinking traps us in a cycle of self-doubt and insecurity. But we have to recognize that the way others treat us does not change our inherent worth. People's actions toward us, whether kind or cruel, do not define who we are. Our value is not based on the approval of others. It is not contingent upon someone's ability to see our worth or recognize our value. The truth is, our value is intrinsic. It was established long before anyone ever came into our lives. It was set the moment we were created. Our worth comes from something much deeper than the opinions of others. It comes from the fact that we are made in the image of God. It comes from the fact that we are made in the image of God. No amount of rejection, betrayal, or harm can diminish the truth of who we are. No insult, no attack, no harsh judgment can erase the beauty of our identity. When we let the actions of others dictate our sense of self-worth, we are surrendering our power. We are allowing external forces, things that are outside of our control, to determine how we see ourselves. But our value is not subject to the whims of others. It's a constant, unshakable truth that cannot be altered by people's treatment of us. What someone else says or does to us may hurt, but it does not change who we are. And it certainly does not change our purpose in this world. There are times when we might feel like we've been diminished by someone else's actions. When someone attacks us intentionally, whether emotionally, mentally, or physically, it can leave us feeling small, insignificant, or unworthy. But we have to fight against that lie. We have to remind ourselves that we are not what they say we are. We are not defined by their rejection or by their hurtful actions. We are defined by our Creator who made us with a purpose, who loves us with an everlasting love, and who sees us as valuable no matter what others might think. Even when others try to break us down, even when their actions attempt to strip away our confidence and self-esteem, we must remember that we are more than the sum of our experiences. Our value is not found in the hurt we've experienced or the pain we've endured. It's found in the truth that we are chosen, loved, and worthy of every good thing that God has planned for us. No matter how many times we've been knocked down, no matter how many times others have tried to tear us apart, our worth remains constant. It's not dependent on their actions or opinions. It is unshakable because it comes from something far greater than anything the world can offer. Our identity is secure in who we are in God, not in how we've been treated. Our actions, the choices we make, and the way we carry ourselves can reflect that truth. When we understand that our value is not defined by others, we can begin to heal and grow stronger. We can step out of the shadow of past hurts and start walking in the light of our true identity. When we face intentional harm, it's easy to feel as though the world is against us or that everything is falling apart. The pain of betrayal, rejection, or mistreatment can cloud our vision, making it difficult to see beyond the immediate hurt. In those moments, it may seem impossible to grasp the bigger picture or to believe that there's a greater purpose behind our struggles. But in the midst of the pain, there is a profound truth we must hold on to. God has a greater purpose, even in the midst of our suffering. Yeah? The reality is that nothing in our lives, no matter how painful, is outside of God's sovereign plan. While we might not always understand why we go through certain trials, we can be assured that God is always at work behind the scenes, weaving the threads of our lives into something far greater than we could ever imagine. The enemy might try to harm us, to tear us down, and to make us believe that our pain is meaningless. But God uses every circumstance, even the hurtful ones, to fulfill his greater purpose for our lives. When we experience intentional harm, it can feel like we're being derailed from our path, like the hurt is an obstacle that is preventing us from moving forward. But in reality, God often uses our pain as a part of the process that refines and shapes us into the people he has called us to be. The Bible is full of examples of individuals who went through unimaginable suffering, yet God used those very experiences to bring about his greater plan. But Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, falsely accused and imprisoned, yet through it all, God was positioning him to save a nation. David was pursued by King Saul and faced countless trials, but those struggles were what shaped him into the king God intended him to be. These stories show us that God's greater purpose is often revealed through the most challenging seasons of our lives. He doesn't waste any pain. What the enemy intended to destroy you with, God will use to elevate you, to strengthen you, and to equip you for what lies ahead. When we go through hardship, we're not simply enduring suffering, we are being prepared for something greater. Each trial, each wound, each moment of pain is an opportunity for God to refine our character, increase our faith, and draw us closer to his purpose. And so, within every trial, furthermore, God's greater purpose often extends beyond just us. Our struggles, while deeply personal, can have a ripple effect that touches the lives of others. When we walk through pain with faith and resilience, others are watching. Our testimony becomes a beacon of hope for those who are going through their own battles. By seeing how God sustains us through hardship, others are encouraged to trust in his faithfulness in their own lives. God's greater purpose is often not just about us. It's about how he can use our story to impact and inspire others. God's greater purpose is also tied to his eternal plan for us. While we may not always see the immediate fruits of our suffering, we can trust that God is working all things together for our good and his glory. His perspective is not limited to the here and now, but stretches into eternity. What we go through today may be preparing us for something that will have lasting, eternal significance. Every moment of hardship can have a redemptive purpose when we trust that God's plan is bigger than our present circumstances. In those moments of hurt and confusion, we must remind ourselves that God's greater purpose is not just about the end result, it's about the transformation that happens within us along the way. Through every painful season, God is molding us into the person he has created us to be. What seems like a setback, a painful loss, or an unfair betrayal can become the very thing that propels us forward into the fullness of God's calling on our lives. Pain is one of the most universal experiences in life, and while it's something none of us actively seek, it's something we all inevitably face. Whether it's emotional, physical, or mental pain, the reality is that suffering is a part of the human experience. Yet in the midst of our pain, there is an opportunity to build something powerful: resilience. Resilience is the ability to withstand, recover, and grow stronger through adversity. It's the process of turning pain into progress, hardship into strength, and brokenness into wholeness. When we encounter pain, especially intentional harm, our first reaction is often to retreat, to avoid the discomfort, or to shield ourselves from any further hurt. It's natural to want to protect ourselves from the hurt, to shield our hearts from any more damage. But resilience doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from facing it head on, learning from it, and allowing it to transform us. In fact, the pain we experience can be a catalyst for growth if we allow it to be. The first step in building resilience through pain is acknowledging the hurt. Many times we try to bury our pain or act like it doesn't affect us. But ignoring the pain doesn't make it go away. It only gives it more power over us. Acknowledging the pain doesn't mean giving into it, but it means being honest about what we're going through. It's okay to admit when we're hurting, to recognize that the situation is difficult, and to give ourselves permission to feel the weight of the moment. When we acknowledge our pain, we take the first step toward healing and resilience. Resilience also comes from shifting our perspective on pain. Instead of seeing pain as something that defeats us, we can choose to view it as something that can strengthen us. Just as muscles grow stronger through resistance and pressure, so too can our spirits grow stronger when faced with challenges. Pain can refine us, shaping our character and increasing our capacity to endure future difficulties. It's in the moments of struggle that we learn to rely on inner strength, to develop patience, and to build the fortitude to face whatever comes next. Pain doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be the beginning of a new chapter of growth. Another crucial aspect of building resilience through pain is learning to rely on a support system. While resilience is ultimately about our inner strength, it's also important to recognize that we don't have to face our pain alone. In times of hardship, the people around us, friends, family, or even faith communities, can provide the encouragement, perspective, and emotional strength we need to keep going. Sometimes we need someone to remind us that we are not defined by our pain, that there is hope on the other side, and that we are capable of overcoming. Resilience is not about going through pain in isolation, but about leaning into relationships that help us heal and grow. Furthermore, building resilience involves embracing a mindset of hope. When we are in the midst of pain, it's easy to become consumed by the moment, to believe that the hurt will last forever. But resilience is rooted in the belief that pain is temporary and that there is something greater on the other side of it. Hope gives us the strength to press on, even when we can't yet see the outcome. It's the understanding that pain is not pointless. It is a part of a greater process that leads to healing, growth, and transformation. When we hold on to hope, we position ourselves to bounce back stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the challenges ahead. Lastly, resilience comes from choosing not to let pain define us. Yes, pain leaves a mark, it changes us, but it doesn't have to determine who we are. We have the power to choose how we respond to our suffering. Will we let it break us, or will we allow it to build us? Every experience of pain carries with it an opportunity for transformation. Through pain, we can emerge not as victims, but as victors, stronger, more compassionate, and more resilient than before. Pain has the potential to shape us into the best version of ourselves if we are willing to embrace it and allow it to make us more than we were before. Healing is often viewed as an immediate process, something that we hope will happen quickly so we can move on from the pain we've endured. We want to wake up one day and feel whole again, to no longer carry the weight of the wounds inflicted upon us. But the reality is, healing is not a quick fix. It is a journey, a process that unfolds over time. It requires patience, self-compassion, and an understanding that restoration is not a destination, it's a continual path that we walk, step by step. When we experience harm, especially intentional harm, there's a natural desire to escape the pain as soon as possible. We want to fix it to make it go away, and we can feel frustrated or defeated when healing doesn't come as quickly as we'd hoped. But healing is complex. It's not simply about erasing the pain. It's about acknowledging the hurt, understanding its impact on our lives, and allowing the necessary time and space for recovery. It's a slow unfolding of renewal that requires both grace and time. One of the first aspects of healing is acknowledging the wound. Too often we try to bypass the pain, pretending it doesn't exist or hoping that it will heal on its own. But true healing begins when we allow ourselves to face what has been done to us. We must be honest with ourselves about the depth of the hurt, recognizing the toll it has taken on our hearts, minds, and spirits. This step is essential because without acknowledging the wound, there is no room for healing to begin. The pain must be recognized, not buried, so it can be addressed and ultimately restored. The process of healing also requires patience. It's tempting to want an instant resolution, but healing takes time. It's a gradual process that involves emotional, mental, and sometimes even physical restoration. The wounds we carry may not show up as visible scars, but they are still real, and they require time to mend. We must give ourselves permission to heal at our own pace without rushing or forcing the process. It's easy to become frustrated with how long healing takes, but healing is not linear. Some days will feel like progress while others might feel like setbacks. This fluctuation is part of the journey. Patience allows us to move through the process without becoming discouraged by the unpredictable nature of healing. Another important element of healing is grieving the loss that pain has caused. When we are hurt, whether by a person or a situation, there is often a loss involved, a loss of trust, security, or even a sense of self. Healing is not just about the restoration of what was broken, it's about grieving what we lost in the process. We need to allow ourselves to mourn the impact of the hurt, to feel the weight of the loss, and to process the emotions that come with it. Grief is a vital part of healing because it clears the path for us to let go and move forward. Without grieving, we risk carrying unresolved pain that hinders our ability to heal fully. Forgiveness is also a key part of the healing process. This doesn't mean forgetting or excusing the harm that was done, but rather releasing the grip that the offense holds over us. Forgiveness is often a difficult and ongoing choice, but it is an essential step toward freedom. By forgiving, we stop letting the hurt dictate our present and future. It allows us to take back our power and start the process of healing without being chained to the past. As we walk the path of healing, we must also be gentle with ourselves. Healing is not about perfection, it's about progress. It's okay to have bad days, to feel angry or sad, and to take time for self-care. Healing is a process that involves growth, and growth takes time. We should not rush ourselves or be overly critical of where we are in the journey. Instead, we should recognize that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. Healing is not about erasing the past. It's about learning to live with it in a way that no longer defines us. It's about moving forward, stronger, wiser, and more whole than before. It's a continual evolving journey, one that requires both courage and patience. The process is as important as the outcome, and every moment of healing, no matter how long it takes, is a testament to the strength that lies within us. In life, we all face intentional harm, pain, and challenges that test our resilience. However, we must remember that our value is not defined by the actions of others, and God's greater purpose for us remains intact, no matter the struggles we encounter. Through the process of healing, we can build resilience, transforming pain into strength. Healing is not an overnight fix. It's a journey that requires patience, self-compassion, and the understanding that growth comes through adversity. By embracing forgiveness, acknowledging our pain, and trusting in God's plan, we emerge stronger, more purposeful, and ready for what's ahead.